We're here at Gibson Park watching the Booker T. Washington Tornadoes practice. Dre, we're officially in the month of December, which means it's state championship week and the Tornadoes are still around.
Yeah, the Tornadoes are still around. That was something that couldn't be taken for granted this year because after all the guys that they lost, coaching changes, players transferring out. I was here in August, and there was optimism, but you had to take it a little bit with a grain of salt because you saw what they had lost on this team. And Coach Tillman was a little more, realistic. He said this team will have to grow up during the season. We're confident, but we know that there's a chance we'd have to take a few bumps in the road. They did. Did they ever? They didn't even win 2 games in a row the whole regular season. The important part is they still have a 16-game playoff streak intact, 3 state championship streak intact. They will hope it's 4 after Saturday night. And credit to this team. This is a tremendous coaching job, one of the best I've seen in a long time to get this team back here.
Well, you talk about growing up, and you got to start with their quarterback, D-Rich, as they call him, Mr. Richardson. He's thrown 30 touchdown passes this year, was huge in the win over Cocoa. I know both of us didn't think Booker T would survive the state semifinals last week against a good Cocoa team, but you look at Rich, he comes out, I think he throws 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdown passes in the win last week, and then the defense was really the story.
Well, yeah, I mean, the defense definitely has stepped up. They're part of the squad that's really grown up on this team because they only brought back a couple kids from last year. Dedrick Mackey was one of the veterans on this squad. But going back to D. Rich, we've never seen a freshman do what he's been doing this season. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's been able to do. Bright future. 3 more years of this kid. He's going to shatter all the records probably. But, I look at a kid like a Raymond Flanders. I think he might have been 1 catch or 2 catches maybe all of last season. Then he jumps in and he's got 1,000 yards. He's 2 yards away from 1,000 yards. Wow. That just shows you what this program can do. They can get kids that just wait their turn and jump into their roles, and suddenly they're leaders and superstars. And then they've done it again on the defensive side. Jaquan Beaver's leading the county in sacks.
Yeah.
Tremendous defense, and their secondary is going to be a big part of this game on Saturday.
All right, Dre, so speaking about Saturday night, obviously the big game, the Class 4A state championship game up at Orlando Citrus Bowl Stadium, and we've been there a few times and seen Booker T take on Jacksonville Bulls. Now they get the team that knocked Jacksonville Bulls out of the playoffs, Jacksonville Reigns, a team that looks just like the Northern Vikings in terms of uniform color and everything.
I mean, they're breaking the pattern. We're used to this team back in the day. It was Armwood all the time, Cocoa all the time, now Bulls all the time. This Reigns team does look like the Vikings of Norland. They better hope they don't play like the defense that the Vikings and Luke Campbell and those guys, that they normally do. But, I mean, up front is the key. Booker T's offensive line has played tremendous during the playoffs. They've established a running game behind a guy like Craig Nelson running the football. If they can do that, it will open up that passing game and give them an opportunity to continue this championship streak.
Well, who are you picking on Saturday night, and what's your score?
I mean, I admit that I don't apologize for my picks, but I did, I lost faith a little bit, I thought, in the sense, not more of a credit to Cocoa and the revenge factor in that game. I thought maybe they'd come out on top, but after seeing what Booker T has done, this is a different team right now. They've done an incredible job to come back from what was here in August, and I see them getting it done. I think they get their storybook ending.
Yeah, Jacksonville Reigns, very talented team. 8 kids listed on Rivals.com just in the senior class. One of them, Michael Pinckney, a linebacker, University of Miami committed. They got 2 other kids that are committed to the University of Florida. Huge, tough opponent, and I think it's probably going to be, in terms of athletes, the toughest team that Booker T has faced in the playoffs, no question.
Yeah, in the playoffs for sure. I think definitely size, ability, athleticism. It's going to be a great matchup.
But that said, I'm sticking with Booker T. I'm wearing the black and orange today. Yeah, I got to stick. I got to stick with them in this game. I think Booker T is going to pull it out. I think it's going to be something like 28-21. Good, exciting game up there for you at the Citrus Bowl. Now, before we get to that game on Saturday, we've got 3 big ones involving Dade and Broward County teams. And Dre, let's get to the meat and potatoes of it. The Columbus Explorers taking on the Flanagan Falcons in the 8A matchup. I brought my notes. You can see I did a bunch of research. I know the Columbus family not happy with me because I keep picking against them every single week. But
that's okay.
But listen, I have a little fun with Melissa Marti, the wife of the defensive line coach, Pedro Marti. She used to work with us, and she's obviously a huge Columbus supporter, and now I got to kind of always pick against them just because, to make it fun.
Yeah, we have nothing but love for Melissa Marti, nothing but love for Columbus. I know you do too. I mean, sometimes you get picks wrong, sometimes you don't, but, it's not like you haven't been doing this for, what is it now, 15 years?
Almost 20, yeah.
And some people were in training pants. You've been covering this ever since like the mid-'90s, I guess.
Yeah.
Man's got experience. It's all good.
Yeah, and listen, and the experience will tell you I do my homework. And first of all, I got some stats to throw at you because Columbus thinks I'm just hating on them. I'm gonna give them some props. Look, Columbus averaged 23 points a game their first 5 games of the season since October 1st. Not counting the loss to Coral Gables when Alejandro Ros, their quarterback, didn't play. The Explorers have averaged 40.6 points over their last 7 wins. That is scary good. Ross hasn't been the only reason, of course, even though he's thrown the ball pretty well. You look at that running game, Dre, they're averaging 171 yards rushing a game, and the turnovers are down. They haven't turned the ball over once in the playoffs. That's been huge for them. And then on the other side of the ball, defensively, they've only given up more than 13 points in a game twice this season. That was in the opener to Jackson and then to Coral Gables, and 7 of those points against Coral Gables was an interception return for a score. So props to the Explorers for what they've been able to do.
Team moment.
Now, besides all of that, all right, now we break down this game with Flanagan. Flanagan's a team hasn't given up a single point in the playoffs yet. They've outscored their foes 91-0, and they haven't been chumps either. They beat Deerfield Beach 17-0, and last week 35-0 over Delray Atlantic, who I think was number 1 at the end of the state poll, right, at the end of the season.
Yeah, they were. They were undefeated. They ran the table until that. No, I think they have a loss. No, they did not have a loss. Now they have a loss. Now they have a big loss, thanks to Flanagan. They did not have a loss because that's why they were the top-ranked team in Class 8A the whole season. But to me, they had to prove it, and unfortunately for them, they didn't prove anything against Flanagan because Flanagan tore them apart, and we've seen that defense is playing better than it has all season right now.
Yeah, so many good guys on that side of the ball. Devin Bush Jr. at the linebacker position, and Devin Gill, safety. They got so many guys.
Loaded.
Michigan commitments. They've got at least 5 or 6 D1 recruits on that defense. That said, Dre, they're a very one-dimensional team on the offensive side of the football. They don't really run the ball that well.
Well, they've been lately.
Cato Nelson, it's pretty much Cato Nelson or bust on offense. If he's got openings, he's creating plays. And the receivers, I don't know if they have enough to beat Columbus, but I'm still going to pick them to beat Columbus this week.
Well, why would you change the trend now?
No, I can't. I picked them in the preseason anyway.
No, but in all seriousness, I think they have been balancing it a little better lately. I think the running game, one of the things is they've been running Devin Bush back there in the backfield, Josh Metellus. I mean, they're getting their best athletes involved, which is a big key of why you win in the playoffs. If they do that again, and the bottom line is up front, if they have the openings and are able to run the football, they can win this game. It would be a shame from their perspective because this team has been building to this moment. They were doing it last year, and they came up short on their home field. You know they're going to be upset. Revenge is going to be a factor. What I worry about is what I saw, for example, in the St. Thomas game. They got so charged up for that game, and then look what happened.
Yeah.
I'm all for emotion. I'm all for getting hyped up, and they will this week. But if they can keep that in check and execute, make it translate into the game, they'll win this game. Until that happens, Columbus has done a lot in these playoffs for me to go against them.
I think it's going to all come down to turnovers here in this playoff game. And Flanagan forces a lot of them. That defense is swarming. They create turnovers almost every game. The other thing is they're only giving up 2.1 yards rushing. Yeah. So that's really the matchup here. Can Columbus run on this defense and not turn the ball over? Columbus turns it over. Flanagan wins. Columbus holds onto the ball. It might be a long night for the Falcons, but I'm still picking Flanagan just for fun.
Ross is going to have a big key in this game, I think, because how he responds. He's proven his value on this team. We saw what happened when he didn't play that one game, and ever since what he's done since, I think his performance is going to be important as well.
All right, let's go down to the 7A game where St. Thomas Aquinas is going on the road to Braden River, a team that's undefeated, 13-0, Dre. But I look at Braden River, and they got a couple kids that are FIU commitments. They got another kid I think who's going to Marshall to play offensive line over there. They got some decent talent, but last year when St. Thomas got to this game, they took on another undefeated team and blew them out of the water. And I think sort of the same thing's going to happen this week.
Well, it's similar to these guys, facing a team from an area they're familiar with, but not the one they usually are. Usually we're used to seeing St. Thomas take on Manatee. Now it's Braden River, seemed to be the powerhouse up there outside of IMG Academy. And, a tremendous program on the rise. They're getting better. But I can't, like Roger Harriet would say, I can't doubt the show. St. Thomas has proven it time and again. That Flanagan game, I think, showed people that even if they had injuries to key players, they can still get it done. Quality depth is the name of the game over there. And I think they get it done again. They got Jake Allen back. That's going to complete their offense better. But the guy I've been impressed with all year is Jackson Kincaid. The way he came in there, established himself as the lead back, and has had a tremendous season. I think he's over 1,100 yards at this point or close. He's going to be over 1,100 yards if they win this game, and then some, I think. And I think Aquinas is headed back to state.
Yeah, it'd be the 9th trip in 12 seasons. They've already been 8 of the last 11, so Aquinas wins this week up there in Bradenton. It'll be 9 out of 12. That's pretty impressive. Now, a team looking to go for the 6th consecutive season. The one I drove up to Daytona Beach mainland. I was the only reporter up there to cover that game from South Florida. They go up there and they win 33-21 over a good mainland team. She really shut them down in the second half, Dre. They were down 13-6 at halftime. End up basically dominating the game the rest of the way. 27 straight points by the Rockets. And what do you think of this matchup this week? They get Naples, who comes to town. Coach Kramer, Bill Kramer, coach at American back when I was covering high schools on a full-time basis.
Great video, by the way, by you
you.
up there. I mean, it looked like a replay of last year's game. They fell behind, came back, grinded out. And that's what Central does. I mean, now I'll say it again. I love what they're doing on offense right now. They're very, very smart on the offensive side of the ball. Can't say enough about Gerard Thomas stepping up. He's had a difficult year overall, but now in the playoffs, he's showing his maturity, his experience on that squad. And, if they can control up front, run the football, I'm never worried about that defense because those guys will do their job. On the offensive side of the ball, it's going to hurt a little bit not having Jernard Phillips, but they've got a few more weapons on that squad, and I think they can handle business.
Yeah, as I found out earlier today, Phillips, the leading receiver for Central, out with a broken foot. Originally, they were hoping it was just a sprained foot or sprained ankle. He'd be back for the last 2 games. Unfortunately, he's going to be out the rest of the season. But the good news, you get a guy like Darnell Solomon, who's obviously a really talented recruit, committed to USF this week, ends up catching 2 touchdown passes last week. And, you talk about Gerard Thomas, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions in his last 6 games, and just throwing the ball great. And that's really why the Rockets are back to being the team they are.
We champagne boys. We gotta step up big time when it counts.
I think if this game was played over at Traspal on the road at Naples and not at Traspal Stadium, I think it'd be a little bit more of a difficult matchup. But I think being at home, being in a familiar environment, I know this Naples team is good. They're going to be well coached, but I don't think they have enough horses to stick with Central.
You gotten over 200003?
Yeah, that was a tough trip back home. Edison.
You and our good friend Corey Bell.
41-0. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to remind me.
It'll be okay this time.
All right, that does it for our picks this week. I think we don't have anything else to discuss, do we?
We're good.
All right, we'll see you next week from Orlando.